That was Marco Polo. That was not me. Welcome back to Game Points. I'm your host, Matthew Ross. I guess Marco's pretty happy to have our next guest here on the program. You can follow him on twitter.com/SportsRage. You can also check out his picks on SportsRageTV.com. He is the host of MMA Meltdown on the Fight Network. We welcome to the show Mr. Gabriel Morency. How you doing?
Always a pleasure, Matt. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. What did you think of Marco's opening?
You know what? I got chills. I'm ready to rock and roll. As soon as I heard the song, actually, and I don't play it every night anymore, actually. I mix it up a little bit right now, but I've been waiting to bring the song back. But I just heard What's Rippin' Montreal when I heard that song, and ironically enough, yesterday I was on Off the Record with the drummer of Our Lady Peace. And of course, Innocent was the song that was made so famous by the Expos post-game show. And I always get choked up when I hear that song. And I told the drummer of Our Lady Peace the story yesterday, and he was jacked up. He told me he's a big Expo fan. So there's a little old-school Expos post-game trivia for you.
Now, I was going to ask you about OTR. You've been on fairly regularly now, and this is fantastic. I mean, you're literally, Gabriel, you're dominating the panel. I mean, they may as well just have three jobbers there. It's like Saturday morning wrestling like 20 years ago when they'd bring in, it'd be like, the Ultimate Warrior against like Iron Mike Sharp. You know what I'm saying? It's not working for the rest of the panel. I mean, I think it's fantastic. You've really brought a lot of energy to it. And is this something where you're kind of just called regularly now?
Yeah, well, I hope, I've been on TSN TV more than Bob McKenzie and Darren Dreger combined in the last couple of days. I know, it's strange. It's very rare, as you know. You've been on the show before. Normally, there's like a 2-month hiatus in between guest appearances on the show. But basically, I really upset Canada last week when I was very unimpressed and underwhelmed with Canada's 3-1 win against Norway. And Landsberg made a big mistake putting me on an hour after the hockey game, so I was pretty fired up. And then they decided to bring me back. But no, it's a lot of fun. Landsberg's a great guy, and we enjoy doing the show. And
bringing the Blazer too.
Well, that's right. I got to mix it up. I was on the show about a month ago or something like that, and I was sitting next to Sam Mitchell. And, I don't know of all the chairs I had to get. So I'm sitting next to Sam Mitchell, and Mitchell was being honored at a dinner, like after the show. So the guy's wearing like a $3,000 suit. He's an NBA coach, He's got like the $5,000 watch in the suit. And the guy ripped me for like an hour. The whole time we were sitting there, on the air, off the air, he was ripping me for my wardrobe. So I decided to raise it up a notch.
That's great. Now, obviously, I caught that ripping of Canada after the Norway game. Has anything changed of your opinion since we've seen a few more games?
Well, yes and no, in the sense that it was an underwhelming performance against Norway, and not much has really changed for Team Canada. They blew out Austria, big deal. Really, I think the Ari Barassa team, AAA team, would probably compete with Austria, at least for a period or two. And, they were underwhelming against Finland. They don't look bad. So, I'm not sitting here, and I never said on last week after the Norwegian game that they were done or they're not going to win the gold medal, because I picked them to win the gold medal before the tournament started. I'm not abandoning ship, but they're underwhelming. And to put it in our good friend Mo Khan's terms here, being a football guy, to me, Team Canada is a football team. You got Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback. You got Calvin Johnson as a wide receiver. Larry Fitzgerald as a wide receiver. And, you're full of Pro Bowlers, and you run the ball. And this is what Babcock wants to do, and this is why Subban's not playing. And just because he's so defensive-minded, but I think it's overkill right now. You have all this talent. Canada by far has the most talent in the tournament. Use it. The only reason Canada right now didn't already have to play in one of these early elimination games, because Drew Doughty took the game over. And, we see Canada's success in this tournament has been on individual plays. Now, I'm not saying everyone should be selfish and everybody should only think about putting the puck in the net. But I think their attention to detail is good, but it's overkill. You got the best defenseman in the world back there. We supposedly have the best goalie back there. So let's take a shot and open it up a little bit, because with all the talent that Canada has, the way that they're playing right now, guys, this is what it's going to be for the rest of the tournament. Obviously, they're going to not have much of a problem with Latvia, but after that, they don't distance themselves from anybody. So Canada wants to play in a 1-1 game. They play like the New Jersey Devils did when Jacques Lemaire was coaching. I don't understand this. Like, why is Canada so damn defensive-minded in this tournament? Open things up a little bit. We have the most talent. Let's use it. And if you're Finland, and I always say this, guys, if you're a coach and in sports, and someone that gambles often on sports, you always have to think about what the other team doesn't want you to do. So if you're Finland, and Timo Solani said it after, we realized we could beat these guys. We could play with these guys. If you're Finland or you're Russia, or you're the United States, or you're Sweden, and Canada is willingly wanting to play in a dry 1-1 style hockey game and wait for you to make a mistake, then you're going to take those chances. We're giving the opponent an opportunity to compete instead of going for the jugular. It's supposed to be the Canadian way. Go for the jugular, smash them into boards. And this team can't put the puck in the net, and they're just too damn defensive-minded, in my opinion.
Gabe, looking at the rest of the tournament here, do you believe the USA has peaked too early? And do you think Russia is facing more pressure right now, considering that they have to go through the back door to get to the gold medal game now?
Well, yeah, there's a ton of pressure on Russia, but you look at the Finns, and the Finns aren't really getting any free pass here either. Russia's been somewhat of a disappointment. I don't know if it's pressure so much. Everyone's talking about, Putin needs this, and, the Russians. And listen, the Russians were happy on Saturday night getting, as drunk as they do every Saturday night, all right? I think it's a little bit overblown right now. This isn't the 1972 Summit Series. It's the Olympics. Yes, there's some pressure on the Russians. There's pressure on everybody. What surprises me is not just the Russians, but we see it with Team Canada as well. These teams are having a hard time generating offense for one reason or another, and I think it's the large ice surface. And even the Russian guys, they're so used to playing in the NHL right now, Mo. We're seeing it, and this is a problem for Canada. All these guys are so used to the dump and chase. You can't dump and chase here. The ice is too big. You're not going to get it, so you can't dump and chase. You can't cycle the puck because these guys aren't used to the larger ice surface. The NHL, I don't like the smaller ice surface. That's my problem with the NHL. The skilled players don't really have an opportunity with the puck long enough. It's like a roller derby out there. And now, we see the players are just so used to the NHL style of play, even the European guys, that they can't get any offense going.
Chatting with Gabriel Morency, SportsRage on Twitter, SportsRageTV.com. All right, let's before we let you go, we got to ask you an MMA question or two here. So we were chatting on our Sunday program with our buddy Dave Simon, who of course is a big MMA guy, and we asked him a question: is all of the antics from Dana White lately, is it starting to wear a little thin? Does the good still outweigh the bad?
Yes, it is. Dana White, and it's funny you asked that because he's been on a rampage as of late, in which, if you're asking about his mood swings and his behavior, it's turning people off a little bit. But ultimately, it doesn't really hurt the sport. Dana White has become the face and the brand of the UFC, so it's somewhat of a problem. But at the same point in time, he's a moody dude. It's going to pass. And, ultimately, it's about the fights. And that's what it comes down to. Ultimately, it's about the fights. The only thing is, Dana used to be popular. So Dana was a guy that the fans wanted to get their picture taken with. He was more popular than any of the fighters, to be honest, and he probably still is. But so that veneer is sort of worn off a little bit, but it's what happens, right? You want to be the big bully and kingpin, people are going to start to dislike you. But it's a little bit much. It's just the hypocrisy with Dana White, they've sort of become what they used to say they would never become. They've become what they used to point the finger at boxing for becoming. But at the same point in time, do I like Gary Bettman? No. I think Roger Goodell's a scumbag. The guy's making $44 million a year, and he blacks out games in a poor city like Buffalo. $44 million a year. Roger Goodell makes about $12 million more a year than the head of Nike does. And Nike makes about 10 times the amount of money the National Football League does. It's almost criminal when you look at the poor players that are paralyzed, struggling to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and you got widows of former National Football League players struggling to put food on the table, and this guy's making $44 million a year. It's ridiculous.
He makes more money than Peyton and Russell Wilson combined.
Yeah, exactly. It's there's no salary cap for him, evidently, right? So, Dana White isn't the worst guy in the world. He's a promoter, right? We forgot that. He's a promoter, man. Promoters aren't the nicest guys in the world. He's a promoter in the fight game, and his bosses own 18 casinos in Las Vegas. And as somebody that just recently lived in Las Vegas, Las Vegas casino owners aren't the nicest guys in the world, guys, all right? So it's reality. It's a wake-up call. It is what it is. Dana's not the worst guy in the world, but I think he needs to tone it down a little bit. But on the flip side of that, brilliantly, we got two Olympians matched up. How cool is that? They have two Olympians matched up, and Sarah McMahon, who won a silver medal in the Olympics in wrestling, against Ronda Rousey, the champion, who's a judo bronze medalist. While the Olympics are going on, it's a very creative matchup, and it should be a lot of fun this Saturday night.
SportsRage on Twitter.com, SportsRageTV.com.